Good evening, my dear fellow citizens. Tonight is significant. It is historic, a symbolic step in raising our national consciousness and pride in a patriotic way that further affirms our Republican status. Tonight is Chancellor of the National Awards, conferred by the Republican Constitution on the head of state. Men and women who have given yeoman, stellar, and distinguished service to the progressive development of our great nation were recognized at the National Awards ceremony. Change is immutable, and as much as we want change, we often want things to remain the same. Shifting the National Awards ceremony from Independence Day to Republic Day was constitutionally progressive. As I have previously stated, Republic Day celebrates our achievements born out of our thirst for self-governance and the desire to determine our future. Independence Day celebrates our adulthood, but Republic Day celebrates our coming of age. I wish to remind our goodly citizens, when Trinidad and Tobago achieved Republican status 14 years after independence, we no longer owed allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen of England. This paved the way for national awards to no longer be conferred constitutionally in the name of Her Majesty, but rather in the name of the head of state, the President, whose constitutional and ceremonial authority and legitimacy are embedded and rooted in the Republican Constitution. To reiterate, such an award ceremony on Republic Day would raise the national consciousness of our people, deepen our sense of patriotism, give added credence to the Republican Constitution, and also bring greater awareness of the true meaning of Republic Day. I wish to commend and thank all the stakeholders in the majority involved in the various sectors of national life who said a resounding yes to the change, for your support in bringing added significance and credence to the meaning of Republic Day. As we celebrate the 41st anniversary of our transition from an independent monarchical state to an independent republican state, it is an opportune moment for us to recognize that we all can and must contribute to ensuring that the model nation that Dr. Slinger Francisco, the mighty sparrow, sang about is not a faded memory steeped in nostalgia. In describing what he observed to be the traditional harmony among the different races living in a small island space, Sparrow crooned, "It is a miracle. All these different people can dwell so well. You see, we are educated to love and forget hatred." Is this true of Trinidad and Tobago after more than 4 decades of republicanism? Or are we a work still in progress? Whatever the answer may be, it is important for us to understand that we are all part of a whole. And if we are not, things will fall apart. And we are all in this thing together, irrespective of the size of each group that makes up this mosaic called Trinidad and Tobago. We must all work towards guaranteeing that no one group, whether small or large, feels alienated, marginalized, or lacking in influence when it comes to safeguarding the national interests and patrimony of this blessed Trinidad Island state. This is a noble objective and will bring us nearer to accomplishing that goal of model nation status. I stand firm in my belief that with concerted action, national dialogue, and genuine inclusivity, this is possible. We have demonstrated that inclusivity in some measure by saluting the descendants of the first indigenous peoples with the declaration of a national holiday on the 13th of October. The legacy and resilience of the original inhabitants of Trinbago still remains, despite the genocidal wrongs perpetrated against them many centuries ago. We must ensure the beautiful depiction of our land by Mervyn Hodge, the mighty sniper, in his classic Calypso portrait of Trinidad, is not forgotten, but rather is invoked in our daily lives. He sang, "For when we move in, we all move as one body, for our policy stands for racial equality." Both of these seminal calypsos, as is the case with other works of art and literature, done by very civic-minded and patriotic citizens, are not pie-in-the-sky unattainable ideals. It is not by coincidence that the film Green Days by the River, based on that seminal novel by Dr. Michael Anthony, premiered a few days ago. It is a great coming-of-age story, a young man's journey into adulthood, celebrating the pristine values of traditional life that have kept us glued and grounded as a nation of wonderful diversity. In the midst of the prevailing social and economic problems confronting us as a nation, we must not spend useless time engaged in morbid negativity. We must rather let our positive energy reverse this decline and hold firm with our boast that we have boundless faith in our destiny. Dear citizens, it is important to demonstrate the will and the courage to return to our traditional and progressive traits, that spirit of ingenuity that has been quintessential in our journey to republicanism. Citizens, we must embrace the spirit of transformation which we assumed in the past in times of difficulty. Now is the time to engage not in pious platitudes or negativity, or pass the buck or step aside. Instead, I urge you to adopt the approach of the Good Samaritan, who did not turn away or pass by on the other side when he saw a stranger in distress. The Good Samaritan got involved and comforted the stranger and provided relief for him. We must be each other's keeper in both good and bad times. Now is the time for us to perform to the best of our ability, to unleash the never say never attitude that we are known for. I am deeply disturbed, as I've always been, about the scourge of crime and its damaging impact on the national life and psyche. Are we willing to take up this challenge involved in nation building, in making our streets and homes safe at all times, in order to tackle and reduce violent crime, which national public surveys identify as the #1 problem facing our nation? Even if it is not your job to be directly involved, you must petition and cooperate fully with those charged with that responsibility of protecting us, so that appropriate policies and action plans could be formulated to rid Trinbago of that scourge of crime, which continues to impact very negatively on our economic fortunes and general well-being. It must be recognized that despite the fact that there is a transnational element to some of the crimes committed on a daily basis, a significant number of these offenses are due to conditions which originate right here in our country. Despite all of the old talk, we must individually and collectively ask ourselves as a republic, what have we done to combat the indiscipline, the recklessness, the selfishness, the corruption that have not only produced blue-collar, but also white-collar criminals? Calypsonian Dennis Franklin, the merchant, a great lyricist in song, provides for a sustainable solution to this social dysfunction. And I quote, "Now more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say this is the main foundation. So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come, let us build a nation together." The move to republicanism over 40 years ago means that sovereignty or power is derived from the will of the people. If you accept this notion, you must employ all lawful means in defending what is right and eschewing what is wrong. One cannot and must not allude or refer to the wrongs of the past to justify the wrongs of the present. This approach is counterproductive because wrongs must not be repeated under any condition or by any rationale. Notwithstanding the separation of powers under the Republican Constitution, the Founding Fathers did envision levels of cooperation among the different branches of government in matters that are germane to the welfare of all citizens. It is in your interest, dear brothers and sisters, to become watchdogs and demonstrate patriotic fervor and request that the relevant authorities work together to resolve issues affecting the entire Trinbagonian family. If you feel that is not being done, you must remember that you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and with citizenship comes burdens, benefits, and responsibilities. As we celebrate Republic Day, we must spare our thoughts and prayers to our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean who have become victims of the most severe effects of climate change, with record-breaking hurricanes of tremendous intensity. We too have seen in our country, flooded streets, the impact of that growing dilemma. Many of our citizens can trace their ancestries to the territories affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And as such, we must marshal our resources, as limited as they might be, to provide humanitarian assistance to our CARICOM neighbors. In true solidarity and in the CARICOM spirit, because Calypsonian Merchant also reminds us that there is an unbreakable Caribbean connection. For we are one people, one destination. I wish once more to refer to words of wisdom bequeathed to us by our poets, our Calypsonians, who are sometimes prophetic in their interaction with us. Winston Bailey, the mighty shadow, who has been referred to as the William Blake of Calypso, also recognized that you cannot build a whole if all the parts are not included, if everyone is not given a chance to make a difference. In his provocative rendition, "Everybody is Somebody," he postulated that if a man is born in luxury, they prove to me through history he is somebody. And if a man is born in poverty, starvation, and misery, he is nobody. When a woman makes a son or daughter, from the time that child is born, he or she is somebody. Everybody is somebody. Nobody is nobody, the pauper or the wealthy. It is my sincere hope, it is my prayer, that you accept that everybody is indeed somebody and eradicate all forms of prejudice and bias. To build a model nation, to construct a strong and better nation, we must bring all into the fold. Mother Trinidad and Tobago has no second-class citizens, and as such, she should not discriminate against her children regardless of their circumstances, as we engage in the process of renewal and transformation. It must be further stated that the people are not the servants of the politicians, but rather the politicians are the servants of the people. I have stated it, and I will state it again and again. A progressive democracy must always be girthed with service leadership rather than power leadership. We must get into the business of holding hands rather than shaking hands. We must therefore not fall prey to the ravages of cult politics or identity politics. See what my party can do for me, or what I can do for my party. And if I get the time or have some free time, maybe I can see what I can do for the country and give it a bly. Cult politics and identity politics muster an unholy alliance with silence in the face of wrong. Our citizens must therefore not become slaves to the political parties they support or are aligned to. When you are placed in the hallways of influential institutions or the corridors of power, the country is first always, and there must be no ambivalence or reticence on this. Leaders, wherever you are in the national landscape, you must embolden citizens at all times to reach for heights seemingly unattainable. And if this is done, not only a country will grow, but it will also have the capacity to meet the challenges that accrue. I wish to salute those Trinbagonians with a genuine concern about our country, concerns grounded in a firm belief that this country can truly aspire to greatness. We might be in some straits economically, but as a nation, we are still blessed with much. And the hard, brutal truth is that we must manage our resources in an efficient, erudite, sustainable, and socially sensitive manner. Individually and collectively, we must not be impervious to great ideas and boundless vision, even though they emanate outside our circle of friends, colleagues, and affiliates. Solutions to the problems of this country are in bountiful supply, but persons in authority and in leadership positions must be prepared to not only listen, but to hear from ground zero up. This country demands genuine collaboration and cooperation among all its leaders, and we must not become a democracy obsessed with the separation of powers to the extent that short shrift is given to the interdependence of powers under the Republican Constitution. At the inauguration of the Tobago House of Assembly on January the 26th, 2017, I alluded to the importance of the interdependence of powers being a critical component of efficient working governance and all-inclusive democracy. And if I may, I need to remind our elected and appointed officials that the Parliament is not a battlefield for scoring points which benefits no one but political and individual egos. The Parliament is about the people's business, the people's concerns, the people's demands for answers and solutions that will carry us forward as a nation. The people depend on you to do right to all manner of persons without exception. My dear citizens, on this Republic Day, the world is in a worrying place. As we look on, two major state powers engage in saber rattling, and we pray that the swords do not leave their sheaths, for it can result in untold catastrophe for Mother Earth. If nuclear war breaks out, there will be no winners. For who really wins a war when millions die? A small island development state, SIDS. We in the Caribbean will be most vulnerable to nuclear toxicity, given our tourist-based economies and fragile marine environment. No one can bathe in a radioactive sea, and no one can be fed with radioactive fishes. CARICOM should possibly consider more proactive international diplomacy under the umbrella of international mediation for international peace and harmony, made more relevant by the fact that the International Day of Peace was celebrated on the 21st of September It is no longer an issue of state sovereignty, but about world sovereignty and the very existence of mankind. Finally, to our marvelous young people, I want to further encourage and commend you all for your generational responsibility, displayed always, and being adverse to that philosophy of neglect and indifference by some of our adult population as it relates to our environment. Our young people continue to lead the way, championing issues as it relates to sustainable economic revival through innovation, invention, and technology, the rights of persons with disabilities, cybercrime, vagrancy, and crime by the awesome presence and power of peace marches. My dear citizens, Republic Day is just not a holiday. It is a strong statement, a veritable testament to a birthright that has matured, and with that maturity we are given the responsibility to create the required vision and to set a prospective and progressive generational course. In so doing, we must not fall prey to a seeming culture of complacency. We therefore must not and cannot sit on our laurels with folded arms, hoping for and praying for the best. Our response to the challenging times we face demand an added sense of urgency, immediacy, and transformational vision. Yes, a vision that empowers the citizenry with the human spirit and resilience to do what is required of each of us and by each of us. The human edifice in each of us must therefore not diminish in the face of the structural or economic crises or challenges. Those who have been blessed with more must give more. Those who work less must work harder. Our Republican Constitution must continue to be our guiding light. Respect for the principles of justice, an economic system that would result in the material resources so distributed to subserve the common good, that labor should not be exploited or forced by economic necessity to operate in inhumane conditions, and that for all of our citizens there must always be an opportunity for advancement on the basis of merit, ability, and integrity. Republicanism demands that we must support and preserve the dignity of the human person, acknowledge the supremacy of God, ensuring that we protect the equal and inalienable rights with which all members of the human family are endowed by our Creator. On behalf of my family and I, my wife Rima, my son Christian, and my daughter Anura, I wish Trinidad and Tobago from the bottom of my heart everything great and wonderful on this blessed Republic Day. Thank you very much, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.